Hi everyone, it's Eric from ecommon12.blogspot.com and welcome to my full review of the iPhone 5C. Before I get into the review, I must first give a shout out to Vodafone who sent me this handset to review, and you can find a link to their website in the description below. The iPhone 5C is a replacement model of last year's iPhone 5, with the only major difference being its transformation from a metal unibody construction to a polycarbonate plastic. The build quality is nowhere near the quality of last year's iPhone 5, but we'll get into that later. The rest of the hardware is exactly identical. It has the same 4-inch Retina display, 8-megapixel camera with 1080p video recording, and A6 processor, etc. The only difference in terms of specs is that it has a 720p front-facing camera, but apart from that, they're both identical. Okay, now you all knew this was coming. Let's talk about the plastic casing. Now, to the iPhone's credit, the plastic does seem more sturdy compared to the other plastic smartphones out there, but at the end of the day, it still looks and feels like cheap plastic. I showed this to friends and family, and all of them thought that this looked like a toy, and I can't argue with them. It really does have a very Fisher-Price look to it. In fact, it does look like a Fisher-Price toy, doesn't it? Just slap on the logo and the marketing takes care of itself. Many people actually thought that I'd put a case on the iPhone 5C, and they were really shocked to find out that it was actually the back of the phone. If the phone had a more budget price, then I would not really complain, but we'll get to that towards the end. Now let's talk about software. The iPhone 5C is running the latest version of Apple's mobile operating system, iOS 7. My overall opinions on iOS 7 is that it's a very nice change and a definite improvement over the previous versions, but it's not the redesign I wanted. The main concept has remained the same. You are still swiping between pages of apps and folders, and you still have no actual control over what you want to customize. The OS is still locked down. It's also completely unoriginal. But what do I mean by that? Well, we've got some nice changes made to some of the stock applications, but you've got the Android notification bar on the top and the bottom. You have HTC's weather animations, HTC's Sense 4.0 multitasking UI, live wallpapers, and even Gmail's method of swiping to archive and delete emails. Not only have these features been done before, but they've been done better. Apple have done a copy and paste job with these features. I'm not sure if throwing loads of stuff on the wall and hoping some of it sticks will work, Apple. That being said, the overall experience is still great for those that like using iOS, but for the rest of us who are already familiar with these features, it will just seem very superficial and incomplete in iOS 7. That being said, iOS 7 is a much better improvement over previous iterations. It does seem nicer to use and makes the experience seem different enough to keep you entertained until Apple release the next version. As far as the experience on iPhones go, iOS 7 makes it more interesting and enjoyable to use. I'm not sure if that will stay true after prolonged periods of time, but I've only had the 5C for about 2 weeks now. Now let's talk about call quality. Both incoming and outgoing call quality has been decent on the iPhone 5C. It's not as good as the iPhone 5, but the results were decent. As for battery life, I have been easily getting a day to 2 days between charges, and that is on low to medium use. During heavy use scenarios, the battery has lasted me a day and a half. Although I was impressed, I realized that screens are the major battery killers, and Apple has been using the same screen for 3 years straight, so obviously the battery is going to last longer. Now my thoughts on the iPhone 5C are that it's a great phone, and I would highly be able to recommend it. But there is a major problem, and let's get into that right now. Now you must first take into account that Apple most likely built the iPhone 5C out of plastic to cut down on manufacturing costs, as creating a phone with plastic is much cheaper than creating one with metal. So when Apple released the 5C, everyone thought that it was going to be an entry-level iPhone. Well, we were wrong. The price of the base model iPhone 5C is £469, SIM-free, unlocked. Wow. That is a fortune to spend for a phone of this caliber. That is more than a HTC One. The price is so ludicrous, and if you pay £80 more, then you can get the latest flagship iPhone 5S. The price is so high that I don't even know how to recommend the 5C. Even if you are on a really strict budget, I would not recommend you purchase it, as there's no value for money to be found. If that's not enough to convince you, then here is some interesting news. Apple recently have told the factory to manufacture less iPhone 5Cs, as they aren't selling anywhere near the amount as they'd hoped. Gee, I wonder why. The pricing really is a shame, because if it wasn't so high, then I would recommend this phone in a heartbeat for those that want a cheaper iPhone, but unfortunately, I can't. Performance is great for stuff like gaming, but it's no different from the 5. I really have no idea what Apple were thinking. There is no worthwhile incentive to make you want to purchase this instead of the iPhone 5S. Who do they think would buy this? No one in their right mind would purchase it. If they were doing this for the consumer, then boy did it backfire. So in conclusion, I like the iPhone 5C as a phone, but I completely disagree with the price. Anyway, I'm done here. Sorry Apple, you really have screwed up here, and this is the first time I can't recommend a phone to anyone. Your iPhone 5S will definitely get a more positive review from me, but this phone... Ugh.